requested to join for the lecture on time. Okay, otherwise I will enable waiting room. That time you will have to wait in waiting room. Okay, so let us discuss about the exception handling. So we know about Python errors and built-in exception. This concept we have discussed. Actually, what is the use of this exception handling? Like we know in our program the error cause. Like here, one error is given, right? For example, if a is less than of 3, here should require colon, but the colon is not there, right? So in that case, if you will run this program, what happen? Your program will fail by showing the error, right? For example, like suppose if I am doing the same thing here, okay. So same thing I will do here. Like suppose we'll consider one same example that we have taken. Generally, you will find uh, take everyone take this example to explain this concept like division by 0. For example, here, suppose I'm doing a division like d is equals to a divided by b and again d. So this is the example, and here is, for example, there is a rest of the code. Okay? Rest of the okay. So here, suppose if I run this program, so see the program terminated here, right? So there is an error. So suddenly the program terminated. So suppose if you have implemented one program, and in that program, suppose you are saving a data on a database or in a file, and because of the error in the rest of the code, there is an error, and you are saving your data in a file. What happened because of the termination? Immediately the program terminated because of the error. Your data could not save into the database or in a file. It can happen without showing a proper error. This is one reason. The second thing is the user should get the proper error message, right? The user should get the proper error message while using the application so that he will come to know what is the exact problem, right? So these are the many reasons that's why actually we use this exception handling. So as we have seen here, how actually uh, so what is the exception? Forces your program to output an error when something in it goes wrong. So here in our program, the something is goes wrong, like we are dividing a number by 0. So that time it forces to produce a certain output, a certain error message. So when this exception occurred, it causes the current process to stop and passes it to the calling process until it is handled. So we have seen try and exception. So like the in a try, we write a code where probably the error may occur and will catch the error in the exception in except, right? So if we, as we discussed earlier, if we not handle these things, our program will crash, right? So how actually we do this? Here we have seen this example in last lecture, like you are taking to input a b dividing if your dividend is 0. So that time what will happen, suppose if here the b is 0, the error is occurred, and it will go to the this except part, and it will show the error. The program will not terminate it. Like here the same thing if you will do here in a code, like suppose I'm putting here try, and suppose here is except print except and the rest of the code. So the rest of the code is there. Now suppose I am running this program. So here you will come to know like exception here this program catch the error like exception handler. But at the same time your rest of the code, this code is also run, right? See rest of the code. So here your program is not crash. Instead of this, here you catch the error and whatever the rest of the code is there, it will be executed. Okay. I hope in the last lecture you might not have understand. Now you understood what is the exact use of this exception handler. Kindly acknowledge in chat box. Now you understood actually how it's working. Earlier you got the error, but now this time actually I'm facing issue in the chat box. The many times the chat box did not open, so I could not see your acknowledgement. Okay. Okay. So this is the main reason actually we have to use this try and exception. So this thing we have seen. So in the good programming practice, actually, if you are implementing any application, we should add the proper error messages so that the user can easily understand what is the problem. So that's why actually in the last lecture we have seen in Python there are inbuilt exception as well as user defined exception. So we'll cover all this part today with the example. So before that, I want to show the one more image here that I have downloaded right now. Okay, so this is the image. Now here you can understand as we discussed in Python, there are inbuilt exception as well as user defined exception. So your inbuilt exception or user defined exception in Python, it is represented as a classes. In Python, this exception is represented as a classes. So you don't think it is exactly like a class, but actually these kind of all types of exception, it is represented as a classes in Python. So what is actually class object? We are going to discuss in our next topic. So in detail, we'll discuss actually the object-oriented programming concept. So as we have seen, it is represented as a class. So here is a base exception is a class, and we have inherited a number of classes. Like here the standard error warning. So in standard error, you will find there is an arithmetic error, assertion error, syntax error, type error, end of file error, runtime error, import error, name error. Similarly, some warnings are there. Import warning, runtime warning. So different warnings are there. So here what you could understand, here the main class is our base class. And from this base class, the number of classes are derived because the exceptions are represented as a classes, right? So here the number of classes are derived. So actually how we can identify, so inbuilt classes, inbuilt exceptions are there. So directly we can use this inbuilt exception in our program. And accordingly, actually we can print the respective messages. Now we'll see some example for that. Now here you can properly understand, carefully note down all these things, like A is equal to 10, B is equal to 0. So all these concepts actually we have discussed in the last lecture. But the same thing actually I am discussing here to understand properly, because many students have had a doubt. So see here. So as we have discussed earlier in our previous program, so in a try, we write a code in which probably the error may occur. And if the error is occur, what we do, we write the exception here, the exception except message here. So if the error is occur, the respective error we catch here in except. As we have discussed, there is a different types of classes, like here zero division errors. Simply actually I'm catching here because the error I know now. The here the user can understand what kind of error may occur, and accordingly user define the different types of exception here. Or directly we can define except only, and the respective error message, the all types of error uh, catch here, and it will display to the user. But actually it is not good practice. We have to properly specify the error message here. Now we have seen the different types of concept in last lecture. What is the second concept? That is the else part. Else. Now here, now we'll see this here will move in the else part or not. Okay, so obviously not, because here when we'll move in else part, this else part code will be executed only when if your control is not moving into the except class. If you are not going into the except class, that time only it will move into the else part. Now we'll see how, for example, it is 2. And if I run it, so the answer is 5.0, and you are inside try and inside else. Okay. Now you could understand what is the use of this else. Suppose if you are not moving into the except part, it means if there is no any kind of error, that time your control is moving to the else part. Did you understand this concept? When you are moving to the else part, if there is no error. Did you understand this concept? Okay. So the next concept that we discussed in the last lecture, that is a finally. Right? This concept is we have in the last lecture we have taken one example, that is the file example. Suppose you have opened a file in your program, but finally the file should be closed at the end of the program, right? So that time we can use a finally. So by default that finally will be executed, and whatever the files are open, the files will close. So respective resources will be free. So similarly, you can implement the program where you might have utilizes various resources, and you can utilizes the resources, and the respective resources will be free after your work finish. So that time actually we can say it is by default whatever inside the finally it will execute it. So let's see here, suppose print inside the finally, inside finally. Okay, this concept. And suppose the next one is here. Then suppose there is the rest of the code. Rest of the, okay. Now see here, suppose I am executing this part. Now here it is moving to the try. The error is not occurred because here the B is a 2. So obviously it will move to the else part and it print inside else. Finally is by default, it will move into the finally. So inside the finally and then rest of the code. Now suppose if B is 0, if B is 0, so for this program, what would be the output? Kindly post into the chat box. Kindly post the output in the chat box. If B is a 0, that time what would be the output? If B is a 0, what would be the output for this program? Everyone post so that I came to know you are getting or not. वेरियस अभी चैट बॉक्स ओपन नहीं हो रहा है मेरे कंप्यूटर का, मोबाइल के अंदर कई बार देखना होता है. हाँ ये देखो ना ओपन होता था ना, ये देखो ये चैट पे क्लिक किया ना हाँ या फिर होता है ना. हाँ क्लिक करा मुझे इसको पीछे बैकग्राउंड में ओपन हुआ ये भी मैंने मिनिमाइज करो सबको. डेस्कटॉप की इतने साइड ओपन करके रखे तुमने, ये हो गया ही है. अल्टर टैप करो इसको. इसको ऐसा करो ना, छोटा करो इसको. बाकी क्लोज करो ना सब जरूरत है उसकी, सबकी जरूरत है. मिनिमाइज करो फिर. Okay, so everyone is posted, only division by 0 not allowed. Only one statement will be printed here in the output. Huh? In the output, there will be only one statement, that is division by 0 not allowed. For this program, what would be the output? Come on. Still everyone. what I want complete output. What would be the complete output? Not only division by zero not allowed, right? What will be the exact output for this program that I want?